This is a re-upload. People who are actually using this method went out of their way to falsely report it and get it taken down off of YouTube. Let me clearly state, this video is a documentary. Nothing shown in this video is illegal or violent, and it is definitely promoting neither of those things. This video will now suffer greatly because about 40,000 of you have seen it. You'll click off the video within a few seconds and kill the YouTube algorithm because it thinks that people don't want to see it. If you want to share, like, comment, all of that stuff helps, and it would be greatly appreciated. Enjoy.
I was trying to trade this guy. He's been standing here and trading him over and over and over. This is the kind of situation I would love to be this guy in right now. This guy's impatient, walking back and forth. I actually lived on my own for a year. I had no job, and I was paying all the bills with this. Like 100%. We're talking like excess money, but $1,000 a month would go to bills.
He would use like a ring of nature, kind of camouflage himself into the bank.
Small price to pay. Ring of nature, ring of coins.
I used to have one that would follow me whether I was swapping, selling gold, buying gold. It's obviously worked. People aren't confirming the RuneScape name that they're supposed to be trading for whatever they're doing, swapping or a gold order, and they're getting even more clever with asking the names, like making them look as legitimate as possible.
To intercept gold sellers is really a man-in-the-middle attack. It's the stand between the buyer and the seller, pretending to be one of them and accepting the gold on their behalf. There's quite a famous video from a year or two ago now where this guy's intercepting gold sellers by walking up the stairs and taking the gold off of tables. That worked for a short while, but the gold sellers got smart. They stopped putting their gold on tables. What these two have been doing is much more sophisticated. They've been at it for years. Literally since before old school RuneScape was released, they were doing this back on the original RuneScape. What you're about to watch is over 2 hours worth of interview cut down into 20 minutes. They really left no stone unturned, and at the end of the video I even interviewed a gold seller about their experience with people trying to intercept their trades. So without further ado, here we go.
So my friend and I, we've been involved in the black market activity in the game for like multiple years at this point. I'm sure you've seen it, Jacob. Are you familiar with the people that impersonate gold sellers? You've seen that one video, right?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, well, so we've been doing this to like real-world trade sites and gambling sites for like the last several years, and we've been basically just accepting the gold. And we have like 30 billion in pictures, but we've done a lot more than that. And we're talking like old school gold, and we're both just sick of it. It's not healthy. It's bad for you. You know, for a time it's money, and you know, obviously we're world trading, selling it, sometimes gambling it away. I guess we're trying to get this method out here because we don't want to do it anymore, and we feel like it's about time we just kind of talk about it, just get it out there, you know?
Just so I understand, you impersonate the people who have bought gold, and then you basically accept it, acting as them?
Oh, we actually do both buyers and sellers. There's actually a lot of like lingo and some like, you know, technique to this. I just figure, you know, we were talking about, like, man, he's doing the cyber sex videos. I'm sure he would like a change up right about now.
Yeah, God, I would love to. So it sounds like you guys are really social engineering these websites to get the gold out of both the buyers and the sellers. I think a walkthrough would be very beneficial.
We have some photos and some pictures we can show you. First of all, I'll show you this text document, but these are like accounts that we make. These are all, we call them blanks. So what ends up happening is we make accounts with offensive usernames, and we report the accounts, and it takes the username off the account. So we intentionally do that. I usually log them in case they get used again. For some of the gold sites, they'll use the same account for a while, and others they switch almost every 30 minutes. Like Bogla, nearing the end of their life when they got taken down, they would replace their accounts instantly when from the blank, but you could still like you could still get trades from them, and the text document's boring, but I just wanted to show you that there's literally probably thousands of accounts I have that I've used.
So I also want to mention, as far as like the blank names, it's kind of a glitch. Like, here's what the account name looks like when it's logged in. Shows like a player in a number, like a random generated number. It used to not be like this. It used to be like you couldn't log in if you didn't have a name, but Jagex updated it so that you're able to like walk around freely, and you can change your name like at a moment's notice.
It also used to be that you couldn't actually walk around. Like, so it would let you log in, and it would have like your display name's not set screen, and it wouldn't let you leave that screen. But what's been like when mobile came out, like you were just able to click off the screen, and it would let you walk around. Which so it used to be inconvenient to do this because if you made blanks, you needed to report them and then have them stationed at the exact spot you want them to be. But eventually, with this update, it made it so you could literally make them, report them, have them all logged out. I actually had a bot I was running, and I was making these.
So the basic premise of this is that you go to where the gold trade is happening and you see the buyer's username, and then you switch one of these blank accounts to have a username like very similar to theirs, and then you try to accept the gold.
Right. Here, here's an example of a trade where I'm faking both the buyer and the seller. So in this case, the buyer accidentally logged into the wrong world. And I have an account similar to the real one which you need to trade. I think it's a swap. I'm not sure because this username's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, I in this case I impersonated both accounts. And what typically happens is if I don't have the gold at the time, because obviously we're selling it all the time, but I'll always have the gold to do this. Well, if we have the gold available, we'll actually show the buyer or the seller on the other side of the trade the exact amount of gold they're expecting to see, so that when they confirm in the chat, is this you? They'll say yes, because the gold amount is the same. If they see the same amount of gold, then they won't even blink an eye at it. They won't even notice. If they're not noticing the username, they're just going to press accept without hesitation, so long they think it's the right person, if they see the gold. So in this case, both parties are seeing the gold that they're supposed to see, and they confirm the trade even though one of them's trading me and the other one's trading me, if that makes any sense.
How do you know the amount?
Well, so what happens is if they trade me first, then they'll put the amount up if they're giving the gold over.
Right.
And then at that point, I can trade the other. So this is one window where I didn't have the gold, and I actually convinced the guy to confirm in the chat. I said, "Confirm, sir," even though I didn't have the gold to show, and he confirmed, even though like he was clueless in that case.
I get it. So you trade the person that's selling the gold. They show you the amount, and then you trade the real person that's buying the gold, and you show them the amount on your other account. And then this causes the buyer to confirm that he is trading with the seller on the gold selling website because he hasn't actually checked the username, he's just looking at the right gold amount.
Right. That's correct. Here's one that shows that actually occurring.
So what works better? Does it work better when the consumer is buying the gold or selling the gold?
I would say the people selling the golds are smarter because the buying side of the RuneScape gold market is typically the less educated side, and the selling side is they're usually somewhat experienced or frequent sellers, and this may have already happened to them before, or they're just aware of the scam and they don't do it. They'll double check. And there was one circumstance I had where the guy said "nice try retard" to me on one account because he was actually selling multiple bills, and he was trading Bogla, and he declined my first trade and said "nice try retard," and then when he went to trade the second agent another bill, he accepted right afterwards. So like it just goes to show people that are aware of the scam can still make these mistakes. Generally speaking, a high quality of a trade you're looking for, but I think you'd be crazy to not get 1 in every 10 accounts you use to get a decent trade from it. I think on Thanksgiving, literally on Thanksgiving Day, I made 250 mil in 45 minutes, old school. So like, go a day dry, and then you could go 45 minutes and get 3 trades in a row. Gambling sites, those are a really good one if you're looking for like startup amounts, because you might not have the money to do those big trades and show the same cash amounts. You go to those gambling sites where there's usually sometimes less educated players, and they'll give over 20 mil without even knowing what they're doing, and you do that enough times, you build up the money pretty quick. Another little concept in this that we haven't really explained yet is these gold sites, they actually use combated up accounts sometimes, and a lot of them started doing it presumably to deter people from falling for this scam, and naturally we started making accounts that had the same comment levels too. This is it's like an ongoing battle. They're getting better at it, but there's still, I would say gold sites probably lose a significant amount of trades from this every day, even still.
Now, real quick, I hate taking sponsorships, so my girlfriend and I are creating old school RuneScape figurines. They're made out of hard plastic, we hand paint them ourselves, and they're a good size, they fit in the palm of your hand, and they sit on your desk. Plenty of cool stuff right now available on the website. We've got Jad, Tecton, Baby Mole Pet, heck, even the Gnome Child. And there's also a few other knickknacks on there. like the bottles of elemental runes, which my girlfriend meticulously makes out of clay, and the tree air fresheners, which are pine scented. Heck, we can even turn your player in game into an 8-inch big statue if that's something you want. So if you want to support my channel and get something to materialize your love for old school RuneScape at the same time, this is a really great way to do so. I also have a Patreon too if you're into that. Okay, let's get back to the video now. How did you guys first get started in this? Was it after that video was released about scamming gold sellers?
Oh no, honestly, that video originally scared me. I saw the title of that video, it actually freaked me out because I'm like, oh my gosh, my method gonna get exposed. And it turns out it was like an entirely different thing, and it may have raised activity in real-world trade interception, but I don't think it really budged on this level of real-world trade interception. Because that one was like almost like a go and find the gold being put on the tables kind of thing, and it was entirely different. This is like, you have to be able to identify the gold sellers, and you have to know, you actually have to have a really good idea of what you're looking for. And you kind of develop a profile in your head as to what, if an account is a gold seller or if the account is a buyer. And when you're in free-to-play World Lumbridge, in the third floor bank, almost everyone there is involved in real-world trade of some kind. Either they're a bot or they're involved in real-world trade. There might be a few new players, but most of the time it's not. And my friend, he'll probably tell you how he started here now. I don't need to take up all the talking space.
Same thing, kind of. Like when I seen that video title, it scared me. But as far as like when I started impostering, it was way back in like gambling days, like dicing.
Oh, like 2011, 2012?
Yeah, it was a very long time ago. As far as like the methods I used, I didn't imposter the hosts. I kind of had the idea of impostering the people betting. So they would get paid out their gold. And whenever I see they would win, they would announce it in like clan chat. And the only thing you needed to do to confirm was pretty much just type a / and say me. And they would just hand over like 200 mil to 500 mil.
You're like the noble gods against real world trade, and that you're stealing the gold from the real world traders and the people that are running these dice operations.
It would be true if we weren't selling it back ourselves.
Right. Now, neither of you have fallen for anybody pulling this scam?
When I was a young kid, I must have been like 14 or 15, maybe even younger. I remember I bought 30 mil once with a gift card because I didn't have, a debit or credit card back then. So I went to the store, picked up a gift card. And I swear on my life, this gold site kept saying they already delivered the gold to me, when in reality I never got the gold. And I have a feeling something like that probably happened to me then. I've always thought to myself, imagine how much a gold mine this would have been to people who knew about it 10 years ago. That was trade restrict days, but like before trade restriction days. Back then gold was like, wasn't it like $3 a mil? It's pretty expensive back then. And I think it's safe to say that this scam was probably a lot better even before then because people were not as familiarized with the industry, the black markets in general.
I wonder, is there anything that the actual gold selling websites are trying to do to combat this, other than what you already mentioned with leveling the accounts?
So I know that when Boglo was around, and I assume others, they would actually have pre-made accounts ready to replace the old one. So if you made a fake, they would instantly bring the new one up to the third floor of the bank, for example. They hop worlds. They'll ask you to confirm that you have the gold in your inventory if you go to their site and say you have gold to sell, which of course you can just use Cheat Engine and like create gold in your inventory and show it to them. I think they also, if you've done it before from that IP or if you're on a VPN, I think some of them like label you like a high-risk seller for this kind of behavior, and they'll have you trade someone somewhere else. So we'd have scout accounts. So if the realtor saw your agent in that world, like your fake agent in that world, they would hop worlds. So eventually the strategy became have another account there waiting for them to log in. That way they would not know you're there. And then when you see them trade when the trader trades the agent, you would log in under the agent looking exactly the same, for example, and then you could trade that guy. And generally speaking, if you were worried about the customer noticing two of you, like two gold sellers, that was the right way to do it.
Yeah, and as far as like one trick that he does now is having one account in the world that the real traders in. He would use like a ring of nature, kind of camouflage himself into the bank.
Small price to pay. Ring of nature, ring of coins. Honestly, there were a few cases where you'd rather use ring of coins, like if you're in a bank or you're inside and the bush is going to stand out far more than just being a pile of coins, because the people that are actually doing those trades, it's not that they're stupid and they don't know. I mean, some of them might be. They might not know what those things do. The point is, you just don't want them to notice you're in the room. You're a pile of coins and you're in the right corner. They're not going to see you unless they're looking at the mini-map, for example.
Yeah, makes sense. Wow. I really like on their end, the most they can do is warn people, and then themselves, they have to be super diligent in checking the usernames.
The worst, when it would get bad, they would make the customers in chat, they would say beware of imposters, and they would make them type I agree in the chat, like to confirm that they know.
Have you ever, what do you do after you get the gold? Do you just log out, or have you stuck around long enough to get some reactions?
That's a good question. So I actually wrote a bot to accept trades while I'm asleep and do other things. Generally speaking, if you get a trade, the idea is if you know there's not going to be any other business, you probably just leave, because you don't want people to talk about the method. You don't want people to go, oh my gosh, this is a good scam, I should do it myself. I can't tell you how many times people would walk up to you and be like, oh my gosh, you've discovered the best money maker in the game. And as flattering as these little things sound, you really want to avoid them because you don't want people to know what actually happened. If they trade you, it's best because then they don't have the purple text on their screen which documents the fact that you, a fake, traded them. If they have no evidence to prove that they gave the gold to the wrong person, then that's typically how you want it, and you really don't want it to.
Yeah, because the gold site wouldn't really know either at that point unless they saw your account.
Oh, with the two trading thing, man, we had this one day. We went for this one Chinese site, and we got the same site twice in one day. Like, we actually scammed the gold site, not the buyer. And the gold site, the employees literally started dancing in game, presumably to verify that that's who they were.
Emotes and spins.
They were emotes. That was too funny. I always wonder what happens to those agents I think those agents have a gold deposit, so that whatever they lose probably comes out of their deposit. They might even lose their job if they think that they were scamming the site. So it's hard to tell what happens to them, but I assume it probably isn't good.
I wonder, so you obviously didn't know the exact level that these gold sellers would be using, so you just kind of like got it to a general level?
Well, usually I would make them in response. We had theorized the idea of making combat levels for every single bracket, basically, so that right when they make them, we could, if you were making good enough money, typically it was not a big deal to bond an account just to get the name change. But if you had multiple of every combat level just literally ready to go from from 3 to 60, for example, then it would probably not be a bad idea. And I kind of started on that, but I really slowed down when I realized that this whole method is getting kind of saturated with people. There's more and more people trying to do this, and it's getting worse, I think. And by worse, I mean like more people are doing this scam. It's becoming less worth even my time to do it.
To what point did you automate this?
Oh, so it gets funny as my friend has talked to me about this. He made this comment to me the other day. He was like, isn't it crazy how the bot you spent maybe 20 minutes to write has made you more money than any other bot you've written? I can't tell you how simple this script is. Like, this is actually not even that good of a script because it doesn't like stop people from bragging it by trading it and like walking away. It'll accept even if there's nothing to trade. I could have added that, but to be honest, I was really lazy. It doesn't discriminate. It just pushes accept. just press accept. And just put everything up, and there you go. So it actually got to the point where I would be doing something else. I might be playing a different game. I only play RuneScape and League of Legends. I'm a very simple man, and I've had friends over at my house, and I'd be playing a game of League, and then after the game was over, the game client would close, and I'd see 300 mil in my inventory. Like, oh great.
So you would just let this script run with a name similar to like a known gold seller on that world, and hope someone fell for it.
Depending on the site, it worked pretty frequently. It was not I think it's a product of its own time. I don't think it works as well anymore. But as the gold sites have become more aware of this kind of interaction, some of them know better. It's oddly enough, some agents, I feel like they're just instructed to stay in the same world. Like, they never leave their worlds. They have like 5 worlds and they never leave them. Makes it really easy for me because I can just go through and check those worlds first thing when I log in.
What do you use to bot these on?
I actually wrote a poor man's SQL table, and I write custom scripts. And when the bot starts, it automatically reads from a table the account name, the password, the script it's supposed to run. Doing that, it makes it like easy to manage a large amount of accounts.
What type of like consumers that are selling gold to these websites do you see? Like, do they log in on alt accounts, or are you like seeing main accounts?
Sometimes I think I got one of my biggest accepts from someone on an alt account, but a lot of them are stakers. That should be a lot of the buyers are stakers. A lot of the sellers are stakers. A lot of people are your generic looking noob in the dragon chain body, and they're buying their 20 mil or whatever. And a lot of the time, those people aren't worth your attention. But because if when you're making blanks, honestly, you don't have a lot of blanks to work with sometimes. You might have, I've had over 100 at any given time at one point. I have since stopped making them because there was no point. I've ran out, and I don't really plan on making more. So eventually, they started getting banned too. It was crazy. I actually wrote my entire Tutorial Island script from scratch. So when my Tutorial Island script was first being used, I had 0% ban rate. Like no accounts got banned.
Do you have any like biometric data coded in to like randomize the mouse movements?
I'm a firm believer in the suicide botting. Like I make accounts with the intent of them being banned and being replaced in the next 18 hours. So this right here is actually probably the seller 1 gold on Scythe. They tend to use 2 level 80s, 90s, 68s. These numbers, if you were to look this up, this is probably like a base 85 account, like all stats 85 or something like that. So here's like an example of a level, like a base 75. And I made this with the intention of either copying a level 86 account eventually, because they were using a lot of 86s at the time. But I was also going to make this into something else too. The bonds, like all the expenses to make these accounts are fully paid by Grand Exchange offers here, so... Like I'm probably paying like 10k piece for these, making like 100k each time I buy one. So there you go. There's the bond right there. There's like 60. There's like 6 mil. And then here's like a 70, a base 70. You could a lot of gold sellers use level 80s. There's actually a generic level 80 with a whip. He uses a different account almost every 2 or 3 days. He's like non-stop selling gold. I think I've gotten that guy twice. You have to wonder. Some people are selling gold so often and you see the same kind of profile fit for that character. You almost have to ask yourself what they're doing to make the money. And I've been thinking about that because this guy, when he sells his gold, it's almost 300 mil every time, but he'll be doing it for hours. He'll be going to each site. And he'll be giving them 300 mils, 300 mils, 300 mils. Where's this money coming from? This guy's trying to trade this guy. He's been standing here and trading him over and over and over. This is the kind of situation I would love to be this guy in right now. This guy's impatient, walking back and forth. This was a level 50 that I used to impersonate a gambling site agent. Costs like, this right here probably costs like 200k in supplies. And it takes 4 or 5 hours worth of just sitting there. And I have a bot that just clicks the lesser demon in the wizard tower, and that's basically it. I actually lived on my own for a year. I had no job, and I was paying all the bills with this. Like 100%. We're talking like excess money, but $1,000 a month would go to bills. It was surprisingly consistent. So long you put in at least a week's worth of effort, you would always have the money, it seemed. It's pretty crazy to think that, because you have to remember that this is a scam that relied on like the sheer ignorance of the other party. There's a lot of stress on your shoulders when you are counting on that for your day-to-day.
So we've gotten a lot of insight from the 2 people who are doing this impersonation, but next I wanted to go and talk to a really big gold seller and get their version of the story. So yeah, I'm curious to hear about like your experience and what you know.
There's like very strict protocol when buying or selling to a site now because of these imposter scammers. They will imposter the supplier for the website and the buyer of the gold. As soon as they see someone trade that account, they will have an account at that location ready, and they'll just change their RuneScape name to either the buyer or the seller.
So have you had this happen to yourself?
Fortunately, I've known about this for a long time. Never really had myself in that situation, but I've seen it happen to a lot of other, people will imposter me as a seller in the market. And I've known people who have gotten scammed by those imposters, but they've never scammed me.
How often do you see this happen?
I remember I used to have one that would follow me whether I was swapping, selling gold, buying gold. So I'd say pretty often. Obviously, if there's so many people doing it, it's obviously work. People aren't confirming the RuneScape name that they're supposed to be trading for whatever they're doing, swapping or a gold order, and they're getting even more clever with masking the names, like making them look as legitimate as possible.
Cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Like, I just want like that short little clip from somebody who actually sells gold to like kind of confirm that it happens.
100%, yeah, it does.
And in closing, the main person who was interviewed for this story really wanted to reiterate on a point he made at the beginning of the interview, and that is that it feels really good to move on from this shady hustle. His reasoning behind this is that he's literally spent years doing this, right? Like, he lived on his own for a year, paid all the bills with this, and then before that and after that, he was still doing this for money on the side. He said to me, "Imagine the lost productivity. I wish I never did it." And in talking to this person and the other person who was doing the imposturing here, I got to know them really well. Like, there was over 2 hours worth of conversation. You only got to see 20 minutes of it, but they are both deeply intelligent. They didn't say this directly, but they obviously both know that they have the ability to create some foundation, be it a business, skills to pursue a career with, whatever, that will provide security and last them far beyond the reaches of this method right here. Like he said, it's getting worse. More and more people are doing it. It's not something that you get to build or work towards and then be able to collect the fruits of your labor for years to come. This is truly a fleeting pursuit, and they know it and they regret it. And with that, I thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to everybody interviewed for this story. Absolutely the best video in this series so far. Also, don't forget about those cute little moles. The link is in the description. And until next time, guys, love, peace, and chicken grease.